8-8, that's normally a record associated with mediocrity, but this season, for these Jets, it felt like a lot more and was deemed enough of an accomplishment by owner Woody Johnson and general manager John Idzik that Rex Ryan is not going anywhere.
You know, I've never felt that, I wasn't John's coach. You know, I felt that, that I'm his coach, regardless of how the situation was. That's kind of how I feel, and it's just I know we want the same thing. I mean, we got to, guys. Say what you want about us, and about me in particular. That I know there's a lot of negative stuff, but there's nobody in this league that wants to win more than we do, and we want to do it for a lot of reasons. But part of the reason that it was so big for us with this Jet, and we talk about family. We grew up like many of our fans. We were Jet fans. And, our dads were heavily involved in this organization. And part of that drives us even more to this organization than maybe others. But, maybe you got a glimpse of it after the game because people are like, wow, I never realized you guys, they saw us that way. But that's the way we've been. And, again, we just want to get it done. And we want to do it the right way, and we're excited about it.
Well, we take a look at the resume for Rex Ryan in his 5 seasons. Over 500, actually has the second highest winning percentage all time for a Jets head coach. Only Bill Parcells higher. Has gone to those 2 AFC title games. His defense this year 11th, but in the top 10 4 of 5 seasons. Has missed the playoffs the last 3 years, although this year it did feel like a season of accomplishment for Rex Ryan and his Jets with the talent they have, an 8-8 year, and they finally come up with a winning streak, winning their final 2 games. Gary, was this the right call to keep Rex Ryan?
I definitely think it was the right call. Now, despite the fact that he hasn't made the playoffs in 3 years, when you look at the coaching candidates that are out there, I don't think there's any question Rex was better than anybody that the Jets could have brought in. Now, they haven't specifically said how long the extension is going to be for, and I think if it's only 1 year, as some of the reports have indicated, I think that's a mistake, Ross, simply because the Jets will be back in this situation a year from now. I think if they were making the decision that Rex was the coach, I think they should have extended him 2 years and give a little more stability and continuity to the organization.
Well, number one, I think this was, in my opinion, the only move. I mean, they are devoid of talent at the skill position players, so you need to, in that situation, then keep a coach that gets you to 8-8. Geno Smith had some of the worst games I've ever seen.
Right.
And they went 8-8. That said, I'm a little uncomfortable with the Jets and feeling like they feel like they won the Super Bowl. Now, maybe they're just excited because they finished the year with 2 wins, but they went 8-8. They didn't make the playoffs for the 3rd straight year. And to Gary's point, in terms of a contract, I totally disagree. I don't give him a contract extension. I am so sick of this, oh my gosh, we can't have a lame duck coach. Why? I've never understood.
I think it makes it hard to recruit assistant coaches and free agents if the players don't know and the coaches don't know.
Wait, hold on. Free agents in the NFL?
You have no idea what you're talking about.
They're worried about a head coach 3 years from now?
They care about the money, number one. And number two, the worst situation to recruit assistant coaches was this year because everybody knew he was a dead man walking this year, and whatever they did was good enough that they're all coming back the next year. I don't think that's much of an issue.
I think you guys are kind of right. I think you're kind of right, Ross. I think you're kind of right, but I think what I think of it is like this. He's not a college coach. He's not out recruiting players. There's no stability in the organization. It has nothing to do with it. You got to win games. Right now they're 8-8. They got to get into the playoffs the following year. They're going to have a lot of draft picks and a lot of opportunity. Idzik has a chance to put together an offensive side of the ball to help match that defensive side of the ball. Maybe that puts him in the top 10 of defense. Maybe that gives Geno Smith a little bit of a better chance to run the ball down the field, and maybe it creates a better running game. Outside of that, this is all great, man, great TV, but it doesn't really mean that much.
Well, here's the reality of the situation, too, Gary. I mean, the Jets, if they want to, they could extend him for 9 years. If Rex Ryan and the Jets don't make the postseason next year, he will be gone. Because now the expectations are back on this team with the way they finished. I know Ross thought it was a little over the top, but clearly they're thrilled with the direction, like really thrilled with the direction they're going in.
We won 2 games in a row.
But you know what?
We won 2 games in a row.
For the lack of talent, and it shows how much they love their coach. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs next year, he's gone, Gary. So how can you extend him? You might just be costing yourself money if you extend him for 5 years.
Well, I mean, that's certainly how the Jets are looking at it, that they've bought themselves another year. Now, Rex had 3 or 4 win talent on this football team, and to get 8 wins out of this team, it's probably his best coaching job, even though the first 2 years he went to the AFC Championship game. So this does give them flexibility. If he misses the playoffs for the 4th year in a row next year, they can say, okay, fine, let's bring in a new coach. But from my point of view, I just think if they're going to make the decision to keep Rex now, I don't think you make the decision on a year-to-year basis. Either fire him now or say he's my coach for the next few years, and they're apparently not doing that.
If you extend him 1 year, he is your coach for at least the next 2 years. Howard,
no, because I think they'll make a decision at this time next year.
But,
we're going to make
so you extend him 2 years, and then he has an extra year. You're right. They will make a decision. We all know that.
It is a year-to-year league for everybody.
Yes.
And you know what?
But the successful teams are the ones that have continuity and stability. It's not year-to-year.
Like the Carolina Panthers this year? Ron Rivera was in the last year of his deal, and we saw what happened there. They're 12-4, and they have a bye. If you're Rex Ryan, and you're confident, and he clearly is, and you believe your guys are going to play for you, I wouldn't want a contract extension right now.
Here's the other...
I'll be a lame duck. We'll go to the playoffs, then I'll be a coaching free agent, and 5 franchises will want me, and then Woody and Idzik, you're going to be paying me even more money.
And here's the other part of it. It was so troublesome and so bothersome to Rex Ryan and his team this year that they doubled the amount of wins we were expecting. So clearly it didn't have a negative effect. Howard, how about the relationship between Idzik and Rex? Does it seem like it's a little bit better than maybe we've characterized it throughout the year?
I think it's an odd relationship. I never really watched a GM give that many speeches and talk that much. He comes out and he sits down, he gives a whole talk. He talks about the state of the union for the team, how the team's doing, what's going on. And Rex just sits there. And then all of a sudden, when they ask Rex a question, he's allowed to answer, but you notice his answers are tempered because, he's still sitting there. You got to be mindful.
You think this is not usual structure for a team?
It's just not. It's not the structure you get to see where the GM takes such a giant role in the media for the team.
No, see, I disagree with you totally, Howard. He spoke at midseason and he spoke after the season. He didn't speak at all during the season. But Rex was the face and voice of the franchise from the day training camp opened until the day of the season.
When you see a guy at the end of the game, at the end of the season, holding the game ball and giving a speech to the team, that's usually the coach. That's usually not the GM.
But this was a different circumstance because he was announcing to the team after Woody did that Rex was remaining as the coach and the season was over.
Right. I agree.
Truly unique for a general manager to give the type of speech that Idzik gave them.
What does it say to you,
back up Howard? I think it's more to Gary's point about their keeping Rex Ryan, and Idzik wanted to make that point. But he said a lot more than just we're keeping Rex Ryan. He went on to wear the Jets colors. That's truly unique.
Well, Ross, if anything, he was invisible during the season, Idzik. He didn't speak at all. I think that was a downfall of the Jets, is that you didn't hear from the general manager at all during the year. So I just don't see it that way.
This is what I'm saying. I heard a lot of speak about we are making a decision as Jets from Rex. As soon as they came in, it was no more, I'm going to do this, we're going to do this as Jets. It became this, we're going to make it as a group decision. And that kind of overrode what was going on. It seemed that he wasn't in control the entire season. Now at the end of the season, he's getting an extension. Oh, we're all a happy, loving family. You're in the job. It's just part of the job. I understand it. It's good to put out that face, but it's still part of the job.
Howard, do you think that the future is very bright immediately next season for this Jets team?
They got how many picks? How many picks are they going to have?
12 draft
picks.
They
have 12 draft picks plus free agents. All those guys cheering in the locker room. Yeah, he's back. That guy's going to cut you. You're going to lose 12 of those guys won't be with the team next year.
Well, fine, fair enough. Geno Smith, Ross, really seemed to finish on the uptick. I mean, his last 2 games, wasn't sacked once, didn't turn the ball over once. That was after we had watched him get sacked time after time, turn it over time after time. It seemed like he finished on an uptick, which was sort of the goal before the season. Do you feel like he and this team are a team that really should be in double-digit wins next year?
Well, that's going to be the expectation. I think that's going to be tough still. I mean, remember how excited we were about Geno Smith talking about after the Atlanta Monday night game. Oh, he's figured it out. Those first couple games are behind him. Then he went through a stretch, as you can see right there, that was absolutely dreadful. Now, the last 4 games, he did play better. Even the loss in Carolina was respectable. If he can build on that, then that's great. But there was a Geno coaster this year. And if there's a Geno coaster again next year, the Jets won't make the playoffs. And there's a D. Milner coaster, too. And so the D. Milner coaster is going to matter as well.
The D. Milner coaster looked good at the end of the the season, actually, which, when number 9 pick you want him to be. Gary, do you have high expectations, and do you think that's reasonable for next year's Jets?
Well, I think, with the cap room they're going to have and the draft choices, they'll be able to be active in free agency. But really, to say, follow what Ross said, the whole key to the Jets' immediate future is whether Geno Smith can become a player. We saw bits and pieces of it during the year. I'm not convinced right now that he's ever going to be an elite quarterback or he'll be a quarterback that can take a team deep into the playoffs. He might be, if his development continues, and I think a big positive out of this that's been overlooked is he gets to keep Marty Mornhinweg as his offensive coordinator and David Lee as his quarterback coach, and that gives him continuity, which I think is really important for a young quarterback, not to then have to go learn a second system in his second year.
Well, Geno and Rex certainly weathered the storm this year, and now we all get to put a different kind of magnifying glass on their 2014 campaign.